Greetings to you viewers from across the globe. You're welcome to the show, Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. I'm your host, Odiawa AI, for Veegil Media. On the show today, we will be talking about INEC passing the buck. And when we mean passing the buck here, we're talking about shifting responsibilities. And who is INEC here now in question shifting responsibilities to? The judiciary. Now, ultimately, if we are or you are politically aware, you will be conversant with the fact that INEC is in charge of saddling the responsibilities of conducting elections and therefore announcing the winner of the elections. But there have been loopholes which have actually been capitalized on, making this responsibility of the judiciary to be, making this responsibility of INEC to be shifted to the judiciary. Now, in deciding ultimately who actually is the winner of the election, be it at the federal level, the presidential, or the state or the senatorial level, or into any House of Assembly at the center or at the state level. Now, outcomes of the last general elections and unprecedented flurry of election petitions have heightened credibility doubts of the Independent National Electoral Commissions, INEC, the ability to conduct a free, fair, and credible election. Although the trend of election by court order has continued since the return of the civilian rule in 1999, disputed elections outcomes waiting for judicial resolutions in this year's polls are quite alarming, because if we will now see from even the presidential election petition tribunal, going down to Akwa Ibom State, coming down to Ogun State down southwest here also, the list is endless, and so many other states in the north also. For instance, a total of 1,280 political offices were contested in 2023, comprising the office of the presidency, 109 members of the Senate, 360 seats of the Federal House of Representatives, 782 of the House of Assembly seats across 28 states of the Federation, and 28 governorship positions. Now, ordinarily, we also have other states now which are undecided, which are, of course, on the off-season or off-cycle, which is Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo. Now, these three states also, the reason why we need to bring up this issue is because we hope after the elections, there won't be any form of petitions heading towards the tribunal, whereby they have to decide who is actually the winner of the elections, when in fact the judiciary on its own part should be saddled with responsibility of taking care of other cases apart from petition tribunals. Now, out of a total figure of 1,209 petitions before the judiciary for adjudication as we speak, according to the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongban-Mensem. Now, Justice Monica Dongban-Mensem, during the ceremony to commence the 2023-2024 legal year in Abuja, said this, that a whooping 94,453% of the positions of votes were cast. Now, it's quite alarming. Now, the implication is that the electorate have less say about who becomes the leader, as that responsibility has sustainably been shifted to the judiciary. Now, the electorate now will have to come out under the scorching sun, like I said in previous episodes, to actually showcase their civic responsibilities. Now, when this is not actually fulfilled, they feel dissatisfied, they feel disheartened. And that is why all sorts of thuggery and vices will now come in, either clashes from the electorate or clashes emanating from even the political stooges or thugs. As it is, only 71 offices are truly decided by citizens, representing a paltry of 5.547% of the offices contested. That is quite sad. Nothing to write home about. Now, considering the clogged dockets of the judiciary in Nigeria, Justice Dongban-Mensem stated that the court delivered 7,295 judgments and 3,665 motions in the 2022-2023 legal year, adding that this could have been done more. But for the electoral dispute in Tegnum, that was why all this now had to make it appear on news platforms, media houses, as if the judiciary was solely caught out for deciding who actually is the winner. I think the Electoral Act states that if a fellow or a contestant is dissatisfied with the electoral result, he or she can head for the appeal court. Now, when all the contestants, be it at the local government level, the state government level, or the federal level, or be it at the House of Reps, the upper chamber or lower chamber, all start heading to the judiciary, where will be time made out for the common man when he seeks redress? That's another problem. She also added that 98 panels were constituted to hear the 1,208 elections petitions nationwide. 5 of them, she said, were filed and concluded at the Presidential Election Petition Court, while 147 filed at the Senatorial Election Tribunal have been delivered, and 417 petitions from the House of Representatives are being attended to as we speak. Of course, they are ongoing. We keep hearing the updates and news making the rounds, and we cannot hear what exactly is the government actually doing. Are they actually wasting the government day or the 24 hours stipulated for government business for petition tribunal businesses? That's another thing. Now, are they satisfying the interests of the electorate, or they are satisfying their interests or egos in the tribunals at the end of the day? Seconds are running, minutes are running, and are running into hours, days, weeks, and months. And you cannot actually state what you have actually listed on your manifesto for the people to actually be executed. Instead, you go executing and wasting hours in the Presidential Election Petition Court or the State Election Petition Tribunal. It's quite sad that most of the time our elected officials refuse, and even those in defeat cannot even act as good sportsmen to actually know and when how to accept defeat. The Presidential Court of Appeal also said 557 petitions associated with the State House of Assembly and 83 gubernatorial complaints are being disposed of, adding that 28 states participated in the governorship elections with petitions filed in 24 of them. The figures excluded the pre-election disputes, which most of them terminated at the apex courts. Now, these pre-election disputes, we could also cite them in the authentication of whether or not a candidate is actually qualified. We have that ongoing now in the candidature of Timi Priye-Silva, who has actually been spotted to have extended his stay in a single tenure. Now, going over to Kogi State, we can also monitor the fact that the SDP gubernatorial candidate has actually tendered his WAEC certificate just in case tomorrow he's being harassed for not being authenticated enough or certified enough for the office. Now, these are things that should be checkmated even before they even initiate running for office. That's another question. Now, these are part of the pre-election cases, which will also tend to delay the judicial and electoral process. Now, also in the same vein, Chief Justice of Nigeria, the CJ, Lukayode Ariwolo, during the new legal year speech, also acknowledged the pressure political cases are mounting on the judiciary due to the timeline attached to their determination. Now, this determination, what is he actually saying? Now, he wants to specifically appreciate and acknowledge my brother justices who have delivered 272 judgments in the normal civil, criminal, and election-related appeals under immense pressure. Now, a case alone can take hours. Now, you now imagine 272 cases. And these 272 cases must have faced adjournment upon adjournment, thereby delaying the deployment of justice or verdict, or judgment rather, or verdict. Now, this is another time-wasting factor. And this time-wasting factor as to who should actually be the leader or winner of government business will not actually be mentioned. And when it's not mentioned or listed or announced, the fellow not coming to be on seat delays the government business. Now, I think maybe this is the loophole INEC needs to sit back and reflect on, and I think maybe they should also check on it to make sure that these discrepancies are actually taken care of. That they, since being the umpires as an independent commission, saddled with the responsibilities of elections, should make sure that they put all these things in check. Now, just last year, the Electoral Act was amended to make sure they put in check some of the loopholes of previous elections. And sad enough, these loopholes have not really been corrected, because in 2023 it has witnessed or encountered, or 2023 elections rather, has witnessed or encountered the most election petition tribunals ever recorded, as far as I'm concerned, in my own view, my own opinion. Chairman of INEC, Mahmood Yakubu, lamented that the commission was handling over 600 pre-election cases in several courts across the Federation during a capacity building workshop for over 300 judges that would handle election disputes. Now, that's quite alarming. He revealed that the cases pending against the electoral body relates to the conduct of primaries by political parties, meaning that now that the elections are over, the cases have risen, such that INEC will be contending with about 1,209 cases since litigants usually join the commission in their petitions. Aware of the litigious culture, INEC in its election project plan for 2023 earmarked close to 3 billion naira for taxpayers' money to defend election-related disputes in courts. Now, I actually, in my own view of opinion, I haven't seen any tangible redress that is 3 billion naira has actually addressed. Because when they head to the appeal court and they are dissatisfied with the verdict, they head on to the Supreme Court. Now, it's quite sad that from the appeal court to the Supreme Court, the Chicago State University, if I may cite an example now, has actually been referred to in a court in the United States. The last time I checked, I don't remember Donald Trump or Joe Biden coming down here to seek redress. After all, one time head of state of the US regarded the whole continent as a shithole. So you on your own part, why don't you put some level of respect on your country? However, stakeholders also on the same vein are blaming INEC, lawyers, and the politicians for subletting the rights to choose political leadership to the judiciary, warning that if the trend is not checked, it will get to a point where there will be no need to organize elections, and that will be very sad. That is anarchy gradually creeping in. Why? Because rather, there's going to be a state of lawlessness in some egalitarian society whereby everyone wants to claim equality and everyone is right. And once we find ourselves in that kind of egalitarian setting that is actually abused, this anarchy will not be easy to do away with. That is where the military now begins to come in and a unitary system of government comes in, which will be characterized with dictatorship and all sorts of authoritarianism, which might not be welcomed by the citizenry at large. Well, in my own view, or my own opinion, politicians are afraid to lose elections because of the consequences of their electoral defeat, which is quite heavy anyway. They instantly become abandoned, deserted by their supporters, and in addition to the loss of the heavy money and resources they deploy to the failed election venture, they become worse than even before someone who was infected with leprosy. The next thing they resort to is to avoid being deserted by giving false hope to their supporters that the courts will restore to them their stolen mandates and have the high rate of litigation we all see all over. Furthermore, many lawyers are not even helping matters here. They ought to even discourage frivolous litigations by appropriately advising their clients with rather than cash in on the situation to make the fortune out of these desperate losers of the elections by rushing to courts in spite of the poor chances of success. Well, frankly speaking, I think lawyers should act more circumspectly by giving good advice to the politicians as to their chances in court after they have lost these elections. INEC officials on their own part who come to the public space to mislead the people about the true state of the electoral laws and their capacity to deliver should also receive a fair share of the blame. Now, during the preparations for the last elections, if I may cite an instance here, some INEC officials as well as the media, they actually misled people in the media. Misleading not just individuals, politicians, that the IREV and other electronic devices will be compulsorily deployed as prescribed by the electoral laws. Now, these electoral laws, some INEC officials should actually engage law experts to enlighten them on the provisions of the electoral laws so that they in turn will correctly and properly enlighten not just only politicians alone, electorates, about the true state of the electoral laws. Politicians also should learn how to be good sportsmen. I said this earlier on. Never of us, they should learn how to be good sportsmen, learning how to accept defeat instead of burdening the bench all the time to decide who occupies political office for the electorate to be served upon coming in. That is my own advice, not just to the judiciary alone who cash in on these politicians. Politicians also on their own part should learn how to accept defeat. Let's liken it to the boxers. Muhammad Ali didn't have to be heavyweight champion all the time. George Foreman didn't have to be heavyweight champion all the time. There were times they were knocked down. Politicians should also learn how to accept defeat. It doesn't take anything away from you, but rather it adds. I'm Odiawa AI, and the show is Viewpoint, right here on Veegil Media. I draw the curtain on today's episode of Viewpoint. Thanks for watching.